A warm welcome back to another edition of APAC Dialogue. We have with us as guest today Mr. Milan Shetti, the CEO and President of Rocket Software. He is based out of Boston, right? In Waltham in Boston, and he will take us through Rocket Software portfolio, their business model, and specifically what they are doing for India. So before we start with Milan, very briefly, APAC News Network, we are a media organization headquartered out of Noida in India with a pan-India presence and presence across Southeast Asia and the Middle East. So our focus is technology deployments across government, healthcare, education, BFSI, manufacturing, and overall enterprise tech deployment. So, Milan, what we would like to start with, probably if you can introduce yourself to our viewers and then take us a little bit on the history and genesis of Rocket Software, and then update us on the portfolio of solutions and services that Rocket currently offers. Over to you, Milan.
Thank you so much, Rajneesh, for having me here to introduce Rocket to your audience. My Milan Shetti, I'm the president and CEO of Rocket Software. I was born in India and through education and professional and academic have been to US and now been CEO of Rocket Software for over a year now. So Rocket Software is an global enterprise software company which is solving complex IT problems around modernization, hybrid cloud for its customers. All the verticals, Rajneesh, you mentioned, financial services, healthcare, are the core markets and the business for Rocket Software. We allow customers to move from where they are in their modernization journey to where they want to get to. And our core theme is modernization without disruption. That is very core and central to it, everything which we do in Rocket Software. So Rocket was founded in 1990. Rocket had a long journey in the last 33 years. And are proud to be in global country. We have a great India presence. We have over 650 employees in India looking to expand. These are full stack software developers. They design the product, they build the product, they talk to the customers, they support the product, just a full stack of activity which we have in India. And we're also expanding in the Indian market.
Okay, thank you. I'll come to the India part later. Other than the engineers, how are you looking at India as a market itself? But that will come later. What I wanted to understand now is when you are talking about modernization of the IT infrastructure, so what all solutions or services do you offer? And if you can mention some of the use cases in the verticals where you say you'll get more traction.
Yes, that's a great question, Rajni. So when we think about modernizations, we, after listening and hearing to the customers for decades, what we know is and understand is modernization for customer happen in the three areas. There is infrastructure modernization, data modernization, and application modernization. In the infrastructure modernization, a great use case of Rocket Software is we are the core software for core banking industry. So ATM machines, the wire transfers, all that infrastructure from a software standpoint runs on many of the Rocket Software technologies. And in that scenario and the use case, it's all about making sure the infrastructure is very easy to use. And that is one of the great use cases we have in the banking industry. In the data modernization use case, customers want to connect whether their software developers have developed something in the cloud back to the technologies in the data center. So data modernization portfolio of us connects hybrid cloud and goes after the hybrid cloud use cases in the healthcare industries and the financial services industry. And in the application modernization, we run the largest application payment systems for many federal governments worldwide, where the welfare system is actually from applications all the way to the infrastructure is developed and maintained with Rocket software. So the core of the modernization for us is on infrastructure modernization, data modernization, and application modernization across those three areas.
Okay, thanks. So when you are talking about this hybrid cloud migration and modernization, obviously, I'm presuming you would be solution provider agnostic, the technology provider agnostic. And while that's given, the question is now if you see typically a large enterprise environment today, they will have multiple clouds, maybe from multiple vendors. Some applications might be on public cloud, some on private hybrid environment. There might be certain applications on the edge, perhaps, and there will be some underlying software likes of Nutanix or something, which to bind all of these. So, when you are offering these kind of solutions, it's hybrid cloud and helping these enterprises migrate, what are the biggest challenges that you are facing, especially the way the dynamics or the workload patterns of enterprises changed in the last couple of years during the COVID, this work from anywhere kind of scenario. So, with this changing workload pattern, what are the challenges now that you are facing when you are helping them migrate to that multi cloud environment?
Yeah, so Rajni, it's a great question. The biggest lesson which has been learned is rip and replace does not work. Data has got gravity, and data stays in the core of wherever the data was created. So what do we have? The biggest lesson we have learned, and our customers have learned, what modernization really means is how do we design a modernization architecture where it is modernization in place, rather than modernization of rip and replace, because that is expensive, error prone, and has got a time duration which is highly unpredictable. So what we have learned from working with customers on the modernization journey is how do we bring solutions to them where they can modernize in place. And a great use case I'll give is, so a lot of the Rocket software is used in business critical applications such as ATM transactions and everything, where the data governance is very important, data security is very important, and the transaction time is very important. So that data is very critical. So that could be either sitting on mainframe, that could be sitting on the legacy operating system environment, or that could be sitting on databases and database technologies which may have been designed in 90s and the 2000s and 2010s, where the data models and everything are highly complicated. But at the same time, data governance, regulatory requirements and everything, content management is really important. So what we have done at Rocket Software is our software technologies make sure that the technology layer is modernized, and regardless of the user, and the application developer may have developed their application on AWS, on Azure, or even Nutanix cloud, as you mentioned, or any of the public cloud, the application connectors can connect to the data sets which have got governance as well as the data security. And the data could be on-prem, but the application and the business modules of some of the applications could be anywhere. We actually made that seamless and invisible. It could be in any of the clouds, or it could be in any of the data centers, but they're actually accessing the data sets very securely like they used to, even when it was a full 100% on-prem environment. And that is the magic of what Rocket Software says when we say modernization in place, and not rip and replace. Because as soon as you rip and replace something, you have to redesign the data governance, you have exposure to security, and you have to answer to the regulatory and the requirements, which get very hard in a rip and replace environment. But disruption with modernization in place and connecting to any cloud is the core of what we provide from a software solution standpoint.
Okay, I understand, sir. You're saying the it avoids the rip and replace kind of, but when you are talking of disruption, and especially you already mentioned financial services and health are two of your perhaps biggest verticals. And if we see, these are extremely regulated verticals.
Yes.
There are just zillions of compliances which you need to conform to. So even when you are avoiding the rip and replace kind of environment, but there is bound to be certain disruptions as especially when you're talking about data governance and these legacy models which might be 10 years or even older and migrating. So how do you ensure that the all the compliances are updated and they conform to whatever regulations which regularly keep cropping up?
That's a great question, Rajesh, and this is where the 32 years of history of Rocket Software working in a highly regulated industries and providing software solutions in the financial services, health, and also government. That is also a very big vertical for us, and those three are the largest verticals on where we provided software technology. So we have decades of experience on working in a highly regulated industry and their security requirements, and as well as their reporting requirements. So what we have done is we have brought all that experience and we have built the software layers where we can help our customers. If the customer has got, let's just say, they have a new banking solution. The core banking is still on maybe in mainframe or maybe it's on any of the environment, but they have this new application because of mobile banking. They have this new application they're developing on the mobile, and they want to connect to their on-prem storage. So we actually have expanded our compliance from ground up rather than brand new bottoms down. So it gives assurance for our customers and the regulators that it is not an entirely new systems where they have to redesign and relearn everything which was put in place in the 32 years. So rather than doing this rip and replace bottoms up and purely in the cloud, our experience helps our partners and the customers, where what we selectively do is you have a mobile banking applications. Okay, let's just make sure that that connects like as if that mobile application was running on-prem. So that gives an assurance that to the regulators is that, oh, it's just like core banking. It just so happens they have developed another application. So that approach of doing modernization in place is far much better than an entire new compliance and regulatory work in a rip and replace, which is just very hard and very hard to create a 30 years of working, understanding an environment, right? So unless they invent a time machine and redo all of that, rip and replace just becomes an impossible challenge to overcome for in a highly regulated market. So that's why we believe the modernization in place approach of you got all the applications what you have, it's modernized, it's and then you connect newly developed applications to is as if it was an application which was developed on-prem. That approach is what modernization and disruption is what our customers are benefiting from.
Thank you. Thank you. So let's come to more on the certain business matrices. You mentioned financial services, health, and government as the top three verticals. So if you can indicate no absolute numbers, obviously, but proportionately, how do these top three verticals contribute to the overall top line? And I'd also like to understand geographically what is the contribution proportion between different regions.
Yeah, so I'll give you some high-level numbers without going into breaking any of the or reporting nature. So we are within the next 18 months, we will be $1 billion software company. So we currently are a company at scale. 30 years ago, the company started with 2 engineers. To now, we have 2,600 engineers worldwide. We started with one partner to we have over 2,500 partners worldwide. We started with one customer to we have now over 25,000 customers in all of these verticals, and that is what has propelled us to become from to an a $1 billion software company as working in the highly regulated industries, and also these three verticals you mentioned. Roughly, it's an generally similar distribution across the three verticals: the financial services, healthcare, as well as the government. So rule of thumb, a third-ish is probably a good approximation of where we are from a software revenue standpoint, and also growing. The good news about all these three verticals and also how critical our software is, that we absolutely believe we have a software stack which is recession-proof. Financial services, healthcare, as well as the government sectors generally tend to be very recession-proof, and that's why even in during the COVID time, pre-COVID time, post-COVID time, our growth rate is continuously increasing. We're also a very acquisitive company. We also acquire software technologies which are in these verticals, so we can provide more and more complete solutions to our customers. So it's both organic growth as well as the inorganic growth, which are very critical in our business model. One of the things, Rajneesh, which has been very core to our core values since the day we started is empathy, humanity, trust, and love. Those were the four core Rocket values. And over this period, as company has grown, we have stayed very true to the core values, which why expanding internationally and expanding worldwide has been very critical for us. Geographic distribution, about 40% of our revenue is in the United States, 60% of our revenue is worldwide, in Europe and also in Asia. So we are a fairly distributed set of businesses, including federal or the government accounts in non-US. So it's a highly distributed environment. And so from a business standpoint, it gives us that scale and resiliency and recession proofness.
Okay, that's fairly impressive, the proportion. So specifically, if I may ask, what sort of go-to-market strategies help? You said from one partner 30 years back, now you have 2,500 partners. So what are the GTM strategies or initiatives that you follow?
Yeah, so the core to what Rocket does is keeping customer in the center of what we do, and the customer intimacy, whether it's customers or whether it's the partners, on how we handle the customers is very important. The net promoter scores from our customers and partners are very, very, very important to us. So we work with many. A lot of our business comes from a direct selling into the customers and the partners, and also through channel partners who have got high credibility in a highly regulated industry. So that's very important, is because that's the space we play in. Over time, because of the reputationally in the financial services, healthcare, and the federal, more and more partners have sought us to be the technology and the solution provider because of the history and the lineage we have, and the core values of empathy, humanity, trust, and love. So our business model is both direct as well as the channel partners. But channel partners is something which we work very closely to make sure they have the same credibility and the same values of empathy, humanity, trust, and love, which our end customers, direct customers, have come to expect of Rocket.
Okay, great. So you mentioned about the NPS. What I would like to understand is how many customers are sort of repeat or a long deals which have been there for a long time, and then where you basically do some upselling or cross selling? And how many are the greenfield customers? So what's roughly the proportion between the two?
Yeah, so majority of our customers are so we do a really good job with our customers, our credibility. The retention rates of our customers are pretty high, especially in the highly regulated industries. Our retention rate, one of the metrics we measure is share of happiness. So happy customers tend to buy. So we don't look at the way philosophically the way we operate is we don't look at the share of wallet like most of the vendors look at outside. We think what's important for our customers is that the customers believe that and see us delivering software with our core Rocket values in mind. So share of happiness is a very important metrics for us, which translates into net retention rates is probably metric standpoint. It's over 100% for us. So repeat buyers from the customers is a very core of our business, and a majority of our business is a net retention and over 100% of that share of happiness translating into the revenue. We add new customers as well, but that happens at a much slower pace than the retention and share of happiness of our existing customers, and that's on purpose.
That's interesting. Now, coming to India specifically, you mentioned obviously for most software companies, traditionally the development zone. But apart from that, so out of these 2,500 employees you said you have across the world, how many would be in India? And more importantly, how are you looking at India as a market? What sort of business you are looking to grow in India?
Yeah, it's a great question. So we have over 650 employees in India, and we started in Pune, and in the last 3 years we have tripled the size of our team. So we have now both organically as we acquired companies. So we are in Pune, Bangalore, Chennai, and Hyderabad. There are very few software companies who will say which have got 4 sites, and we're expecting all 4 sites to grow for us. And it won't surprise me that we'll be over 1,000 employees in India and growing very fast. And one of the things, the way we approach Rajnish India is many companies in the past would have looked at India as support centers, call centers, and everything. That's not what we did. We did a very different approach. Our India team design, build, product manage, and product markets the product. So it's a full end-to-end stack we have there, which becomes very important in attracting talent, retaining talent, and also growing the talent in all the 4 areas. So that's been very impressive for us, and we do expect our all sites in India are going to be growing from a headcount standpoint in full stack end to end quite rapidly. Now we're already in India from a scale standpoint as far as customers are concerned. We currently work with the top Indian insurance companies, one of the top payment bank operators, one of the top 5 private sector banks, one of the top 3 home finance companies, and the 2 of the top payment and financial technology providers. So we already have a decent or a good size footprint over there, and we actually expect that it will grow very fast. We from an Indian market standpoint, as customer standpoint, as the digitization activity is taking rampantly in India and taking hold in India, much from a business to business as well as business to consumers. Our business, which is in business to business, we actually expect in those verticals to actually grow very strong. When you look at the Indian customers, I don't have a percentage is in front of that number. I actually think our Indian business will has an X in front of the number. We will be 2x and 3x and 4x, given the scale of the Indian population and also the appetite of digitizing very fast in India. So I actually have we're going to be growing in India in magnitude of order rather than just percentage, which is why I'm very bullish of the Indian market and the Indian opportunity for Rocket Software, coupled with the software is actually for most of those customers are made in India. And when you think about that from a digitization standpoint, I'm very bullish about the talent in India, about the full stack work we're doing there, and also the route to market in India to be a magnitude of order rather than an year-over-year percentage growth standpoint.
Great, great, great to know that. Not just India, overall, globally, if we look at, so typically, about as you were saying, in 18 months, we will reach $1 billion. I wanted to understand how would you differentiate yourself against, say, some of the large global SIs? And I'm not talking about the Indian global SIs, the likes of the Accentures and the Capgeminis. They might be American or European MNCs, or the IBMs, or these global SIs. So, how would you differentiate? Especially, many of them are helping enterprises in their digitization journey, and some of the services that you mentioned, they are definitely offering that in their portfolio also. So, if I may ask, uh, against the larger competitors, what are Rocket's unique differentiators?
No, it's a great question, Rajneesh. We actually develop software. We are not in the so these some of these larger SIs are also consume Rocket software in their offerings. So because we are innovative and a software company which understands the regulations, we actually are the software providers in many cases to these SIs as well. So our core intellectual property is our people and the software they develop. And given that we are and the industries which we talked about, we know very intimately, makes our strength. But I think even bigger than that. And by the way, we call all the Rocket employees in a fun and loving way Rocketeers. These 2,600 Rocketeers love to solve the complex problems for our customers, and so they live to solve those complex problems, and they get the excitement and the pleasure from seeing the share of happiness from our customer standpoint. Business follows later, but share of happiness is really important for us. That's where we differentiate from our customers. A Rocket customer or a Rocket SI, if they call us, we don't ask them, say they want to have complex problems. We don't look at whether they have our support agreement or a contract with us and everything. They call us, we will solve we'll help them even with the Rocket technology, then many times non-Rocket technologies. We don't ask them for, do you have a service entitlement contract, do you have a professional services and everything. And that intimacy, Rajneesh, is very important core of what was Rocket was built on. So that actually differentiates us, that intimacy, that trust which customers give us, and they know the ones who have high referenceability in all of those verticals, and the customers talk to each other. That is very core to how this business has grown and will continue to grow even in any kind of environment: recession, non-recession, inflation, stagflation. I think there are more adjectives and verbs out there than I care for, but we just like don't even pay attention to it. We just pay attention to the share of happiness, Rocket core values, and modernization without disruption. That's what we want to do, and that is how we absolutely differentiate it. And a lot of times, we customers just call us and we deliver the service, and we probably don't even charge them for the service, honestly, because it's the happiness which matters to us.
But while that intimacy and the relationship with customer helps, but having very loose SLAs or things is not that an impediment also in certain cases, especially when you are looking on a going on a growth trajectory.
Yeah, so I think it's the we have figured out a way to do it at scale. So what we are seeing is that even at that growth trajectory, right? You treat customers well, you keep them at the North Star, business happens. And I think that's the reputation we have, and that is the reputation we're proud of, and I think that actually makes Rocket Software very unique, and especially Rajneesh, back to the Indian market, right? The core values of Core Rocket are the core values in what I grew up with, and I think those all the four core values matter to the Indian customers, and the more we show empathy to our customers, the more we show trust, the more we show love, and more we show humanity, that is just priceless. And that is what I think is we can deliver all the innovative software and everything, but those four core values and every Rocketeers is delivering them. That is just the heart of what makes Rocket Software unique. It's that than the software itself.
That's heartening to know. When you are talking about this growth trajectory, and if we may look a little bit ahead, maybe next 7, 8 quarters, to achieve that growth which you are talking about, what are going to be your key focus areas? That can be expansion, new products, solutions, services, whatever. What are going to be the two, three of these key focus areas or initiatives?
Yeah, so with modernization without disruption as the core theme, we have got innovation coming in the infrastructure modernization. So, in the infrastructure modernization, connecting seamlessly, ability to manage whether it's the environment which are on-prem or environment which are in cloud. So, making infrastructure invisible, so to speak, but making it seamless to operate is very critical and core. So, we have a number of innovations we have announced in connecting the infrastructure in a hybrid environment. In the data modernization for content management businesses as well as regulatory businesses, how do we make sure that our customers can go through all of the regulatory requirements faster than they ever did at scale? So there are innovations in the data modernization and automation there around the regulatory requirements and everything, and how we can do that faster and seamlessly. We have lots of innovation delivered to the market in the data modernization. And in the application modernization, while modernization in place, how do we connect application developers with whatever their modern technologies and the software they are developing in and connecting to the modernization are the innovations we have in the application modernization. So between the infrastructure modernization, data modernization, application modernization, we have a long lineup of innovation we delivered last year, and we will continue to deliver this year, which is what's going to be fueling this growth for us here in the next few quarters. Rajneesh, thank you for giving me this opportunity to talk to your listeners and also introduce Rocket Software. And for the ones who are already Rocket customers, thank you. We appreciate it. And for the ones who have not worked with Rocket before, please give us a call.
Sure, definitely. And whatever little we can help, definitely we will try that. Thanks a lot for your time.
Thank you, Rajneesh.
Thank you.